what's up, everybody? My name is Winifred Summer, and I'm excited to be hosting the Love Your Work series for a brand new season. So, I have the awesome pleasure of bringing someone that I really admire and respect and have been following for quite some time. And that is April Nicole Scipio, the More Coach. And we're going to get into what a more coach is. But thank you so much, April, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here today.
Awesome. So I'm going to take everybody back a couple years to when I first heard your voice, and it was on Clubhouse. Which, if anyone is not familiar with Clubhouse, which still exists, and there's still plenty of people on that app in that space, but it is, or at least it was at the time. I don't know if things have changed, but it was an all audio platform. So you might have like a little profile picture, maybe, but there was no ability to be on video, and people were using the power of their voices. And it was honestly one of my favorite platforms for a long time because it was just so different. We're so used to having to show up on screen and not having that capability. I feel like really allowed people to focus on the point. You know what I mean? Like you hear these words, you take in valuable information, and that's it, that's all. I feel like when it comes to a lot of social media platforms, sometimes the draw is like, oh, what this person is wearing. They're like, hey, tag your sweater. Oh, what lipstick is that? Or all these different things. People are looking at your background, like, oh, I like your backdrop, and all of these things, which are wonderful. But with Clubhouse, it was just purely voice and energy. And so I remember being in these rooms, and I honestly can't remember even how I got to these rooms. You just kind of would find your way in the hallway. It was what they used to call it. And you see a topic, you're like, oh, let me click on that. And I just remember entering this room and I heard your voice, and I was just like so drawn to, not just what you were saying, but also you just kind of had this like, kind of like this softness and like this nurturing energy, but yet it was so powerful. And you're talking about the love of God and you're talking about business. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So from that space, then moving over to Instagram and getting to see more of you, and you go live and all this awesome stuff. So anyway, that's just kind of the backstory of where I first connected with you. So I've been rambling. So April, you are the More Coach.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what a More Coach is and how that came to be. Like, what's your journey to becoming the More Coach?
Yeah. The more coach, basically for me, it means every single person has an opportunity to be more, to do more, to even have more. And depending on your walk of life, some of those you might be like, yes, that's for me. And some of those you might kind of pull away from, depending on your experience. But I just believe in every area of your life, there's always possibility to reach an even greater potential. And the way that I do that is by helping women really get out of that survival mode and really step into being led by God and really wanting to fulfill purpose for you, not because you're trying to please people, not because you're trying to check a box off, but you genuinely see the greatness on the inside of you. And you're like, man, I want to tap into that. And that is really my heartbeat. I want every single person to genuinely fulfill every single purpose that they were born to fulfill. That fills my cup. I wasn't always an entrepreneur. I started off actually in education, started off as a kindergarten teacher. I love my 5 year olds. I'm just saying. I went from that to teaching actually middle and high school English to becoming a principal. And I was a principal at a Christian school for a couple of years, probably about 2 to 3 years. And right at the time my third year started, I felt the year was going great. I stepped into that school, and for the first time, the school was in the green budget wise when I stepped in, or in the black, what some people would say. And I've never got any negative feedback over my tenure. And then my third year in administration, I'll never forget, it was the end of the day. I'm looking at my email for one last time, and I noticed that an email got accidentally forwarded to me by our school board president. He meant to email everybody else. I wasn't supposed to get it. And it was one of the board members pretty much bad mouthing me, saying I don't take ownership of my job, like all these negative things. And it crushed me because I knew how much of myself I poured in to the school. I didn't just administer at the school. I was a part of these students' families. I was at grandparents' funerals. I was at younger siblings' baptisms. Like I was very involved. So for someone to question the quality of my work really hurt. And so I went to the school board and I asked them, can I please have a formal evaluation? Because if you think I'm not doing my job, I would like to know because I know I'm my biggest critic. I'm hard on myself. And the things in this email, I'm telling you, I don't necessarily agree that these are the things that I need to work on. Am I perfect? No. But when you send an email saying that I don't take ownership of my job, when I know the hours that I put in, let's do a formal evaluation and let's see. I was refused a formal evaluation, and I was told that I had to make a growth plan based on this email. So I complied with everything they wanted me to do. I made the growth plan, even though I knew it wasn't things that I needed to grow on. How do I measure ownership, right? So I made the growth plan, presented the growth plan to the school board. The growth plan was approved. Didn't hear anything else, no negative feedback. And probably about 2 months later, I got called into a meeting and they said, we don't like the way things are going. You can either resign effective immediately today, or we can go through the process of firing you. And I'll never forget that day. I was completely just blown away of how I could pour so much of myself into the school. And I was treated as if I was the worst employee that they had. The meeting was at 6 a.m. on a school day. I wasn't allowed to go to my office. I had to leave the school premises, and they told me I can come back at 7:30 p.m. and be escorted by a board member to remove my things from my office. So you would think I would have done something like stole money or something big the way I was treated. And I just remember talking to my husband and we both said, let's not make a knee-jerk reaction. Let's pray about what we need to do. And I spent the next couple of weeks, I decided to resign that day. I spent the next couple of weeks just in prayer about what I should do. And the only thing that was on my heart was to be available. I didn't know what that meant. I know I had a passion to inspire people, a passion to speak with women. And I just began meeting with women in my community just to get to know them, just to have coffee. No clue that a couple months later, I'll be put in a position where I actually can start coaching women and writing resources and all the things. And that is really how my entrepreneurial journey started. It wasn't like I was in corporate and had this dream of being an entrepreneur. I basically was blindsided. And from that place of really confusion and hurt and frustration, something birthed inside of me to help people really reach their potential. Because here's the thing, I was at the school pouring so much of myself into that school. I wasn't pouring into the potential that was on the inside of me. And so I'm like, man, how many women out there are pouring so much of themselves into someone else's dream? And the potential that's on the inside of them is being untapped, pushed to the side. And I'm like, I want to help women recognize what's in them and go after that. So that's how I started.
Wow. Like that was, thank you so much for sharing that. I've learned some new things, and that is a very powerful story. And so being an HR person, for those who may not know, I work in HR. So like as you're saying these things, like my brain is just going all over the place. That is a very, very rough I guess, push in another direction, which is interesting because I feel sometimes, like you said, some people have this original plan, like, hey, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Like, this is what I want to do. Maybe I'm going to do this for a few years and then I'm going to pivot and all these great things. And then some people are literally just kind of thrust in, kind of against their wishes. And then something really beautiful comes from it. So you did talk about helping women to kind of tap into the potential that is inside. So what are some things that you have noticed during your time coaching that maybe happen often when it comes to women? Because there are certain things that, for example, for those who are mothers, there's like the mom guilt, for those who are spouses, it's just kind of like, wait, no, I need to dedicate, my time to servicing my husband, taking care of his needs. Then you have people who have led a life of, oh, well, women should be in certain categories professionally. And so they're kind of suppressing their desires or even downplaying their skills. So, what are some things that come up frequently with some women that you have worked with?
Definitely the number one thing is they have trouble believing in themselves. That's really where it starts. And so my question always is, what's possible for you? And that's a hard question because a lot of times when we're young, we have all these dreams. I want to grow up. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to do this for a job. We have all these dreams. And then what happens is we become an adult and we forget how to dream. We just go into autopilot and just start doing all the things, checking all the boxes, and we forget how to use our imagination as far as what is actually possible for us. And so that's really what I love to tap into. It's like, how do you relearn how to dream? How do you learn that these things on your heart are actually possible for you? Then, once you know that's possible, another issue I see is they need help reclaiming their time because they fill their schedules up with everybody else's expectations, everybody else's schedules, everyone else's emergency becomes your emergency. You'll drop everything that you have going on to help somebody else. You create boundaries, but then you yourself violate your own boundaries. And so it's like let's think about what's possible. And now how do I structure time to work for me and not against me? I'm a strong believer that God created time. So if God created time, that means time wasn't created to stress me out. So why am I stressed out about time? Like time should be serving me. So I have 168 hours in a week. I'm going to decide how I'm going to use those 168 hours. And I always tell people, just like you tell your money where it's going to be spent, when you do your budget, you might get paid and you say, okay, I'm going to allot this amount to my mortgage or my rent and this amount to groceries, et cetera, et cetera. Why can't we do that with time? Money, I run out of money, I probably can make more money. Time, I run out of time, it's non-renewable. So I should be stewarding my time much more so, honestly, that I'm stewarding my money. Now, yes, both are important, but why do we neglect to steward that time? So when I work with women, it's like, yes, this is possible for you, but it's going to require you to take some action, really set some boundaries, really reclaim that time back, and really honor the desires that are in your heart. Now, another component of that is pursuing what that is on your heart with confidence. So that means we have to break free from the people pleasing and trying to oh, I see this so much. Women try to manage other people's responses. It's like, I'm going to share this with you, but how you respond, I'm going to let it affect me. We can't do that. I might share it with you, and how you respond is not my responsibility. I've got to be authentic in what I think works for me, how I'm going to pursue my passion, how I'm going to step into my assignment, how I'm going to go after this goal, go after this dream outside of your opinion of it. I've got to pursue purpose with complete confidence, and that confidence can't be connected to your opinion of me. And so it's this journey that I get to take women on. It's like, let's build your faith. Let's see what's possible for you. Let's reclaim some time. Let's get some time back so you can actually work on these things. And now we can go forward in full confidence. And it is amazing what I see women do. I always joke because I am the more coach because a lot of times when people start to work with me, they have one idea of what they're passionate about, what they want to do. And by the end of it, their dreams are so much greater than what they originally started with. And that just fills my cup so much. I have one girl that's working with me, and when she started, she really wasn't sure what she wanted to do. She knows she was passionate about being a mom. She was like, I don't really feel like I'm supposed to start a business, but I know I'm supposed to work with you. I just love being a mom. And so I don't know. And I'm like, well, let's just dream about what's possible. Here we are a year later, and she is now writing a prayer book for moms. But it's so cool to see the confidence because a year ago, if you would have told her she was going to publish a book, she would have looked at you like you were crazy. But just exploring what's possible and then taking that time for yourself and then being confident in what's on your heart, I'm telling you, we can accomplish so much more if we do those things.
Awesome. So you touched on like people pleasing and things like that. So in your own personal journey, when you decided to fully lean into being a coach, did you have the immediate support of the people around you? Were people saying, "Oh, maybe you could work at another school, or maybe you could coach educators specifically," or was it just kind of like, you know what, just kind of go with your gut feeling and what you feel?
Yeah, I would say I did have support. But also, because I did go through a journey of breaking free from people pleasing, I feel like if I didn't have the support, I don't even know how much I would have recognized that I didn't have it because I feel very removed from my former people pleasing self. When my family lived in Georgia at one point, we were in ministry, and at that time, I will say I was still in the people pleasing circle. And what broke me from that was we felt very strongly that we were needing to move to Oklahoma where we could do Bible college and learn more. Just we felt called to ministry and wanted to invest in ourselves. And people that we went to church with, they meant well, but they were not supportive of that. We were doing a lot of good in the community, and so I could understand why they would hesitate. Like, you're doing all these good things. I don't understand why you would want to leave. But we knew it was time for us to shift. And it was very, very hard. And I think what broke me away from the people pleasing was to see that when I decided not to follow what these people wanted, how quickly they turned on me. It went from, no, you shouldn't go, to, oh, now you're going. So let's spread some rumors about you. Rumors were spread that we were going to be homeless, we were taking kids to live in our vehicles, all this ridiculous stuff. And I just got the revelation like, if they're going to turn on me, they're not my people. So why would I bend over backwards to please someone who is, oh, they only have their best interest in mind anyway? So I think me breaking away from that made the rest of my journey, I don't want to say easier, but I'm definitely more confident in the decisions that I make because I recognize I'm not going to be able to please everybody. And when you try, it's very exhausting.
Speaking of exhausting, so being in the peopling industry where there are a lot of people that you're coaching and there's a lot of energies and things, sometimes that can be a lot on your own you know wellness. Like, it can be heavy sometimes because there's a lot of a person's personal story that gets involved when talking about their passions or their growth, their dreams. And it can be, I'm sure, kind of emotionally taxing. And so how do you keep yourself in in good spirits and, continue to be a support. And has there ever been a time where you're just kind of like, you know what, maybe I need to pray about this before I work with this person if it's too much?
Absolutely. I would say yes to both. So for me, every single morning, I fill my cup. So that way, as I'm pouring out during the day, I'm pouring out from this place of overflow and not empty. And so every single morning, I'm going to do something that helps me be in the right mindset. I want to do something that makes me smile. I always say one thing that makes me smile in the morning and something that helps my physical well-being. So I either work out or go for a run. My mindset, I'm going to journal in the mornings. And then what makes me smile, truth, this is true, hot Earl Grey tea with honey, it makes me smile. So every single morning, I have a cup of hot Earl Grey tea with honey. Because if I'm doing things in the morning that make me smile, that make my body feel good, gets me in the right frame of mind, then I'm able to pour out and not feel exhausted. Now, have there been seasons of my life when I wasn't consistent in that? Yes. And those are the seasons where I did feel exhausted. But I'm thankful I can recognize that. And I'm like, oh, wait, let me pull back. I started slacking on my exercise, or I started slacking with my journaling, or I'm not going to slack on my tea. I will say that. But I've been able to recognize, wait, I've got to pour into me. And I think a lot of women, they begin to pour from an empty cup, and that's how they get exhausted. And even pouring from a full cup, it's like I was doing good and now I'm empty. I'm doing good and now I'm empty. But imagine if you could serve people from a place of overflow. That's possible for you. If you are intentional to fill yourself up daily, and now I'm only serving from an overflow, then that's why you can love what you do, because it's not hard. It's not hard.
Well said, well said. So you have quite a few things also that I want to touch on. You do have a podcast, you do have this amazing community. I know that you did a retreat, and I'm just like, wow, like I'm watching all these amazing things. And so kind of talk to us about your growth in this space.
Absolutely. I remember when I first started in entrepreneurship, I was so nervous that someone would want anything that I would create. I remember creating my first digital download and being so nervous putting it out there. Are people going to want to hear from me? And then I realized that the purpose that was placed on the inside of me was placed there because people needed it. It's not like the purpose was placed there and now I've got to figure out who needs it. Just the fact that it's placed in my heart already means people need it. So my growth has been, I went from thinking I had to convince people, buy this, invest in this, to I don't have to convince anyone. I just have to fulfill my purpose. And the people that I'm called to impact are going to be drawn to what I have. And that has made the journey easier and lighter because I don't feel like I'm striving or hustling to grow. I don't have to do the next thing or create the next or what's so and so doing. No, I just get to be me. And if I'm just me, then the people who need me are going to find me. It's when you are doing what other people are doing, where the people who really need you can't find you. And now you are striving to grow what you have going on. But if you are just authentically you, I'm telling you, your growth will just happen. People will be drawn to you. So if anyone's listening, let me just encourage you in that, you don't have to convince people to be a part of what you have going on. I'm telling you, you just be authentically you and you will attract those right people.
Powerful words, powerful words. I feel like there are so many people who are going through like the trial and error period, maybe, and they show up and they're like, oh, but nobody comes and watches my lives, nobody buys my book, nobody, this and that. So then they start to think, well, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't my actual calling. I think that sometimes with all of the different influences that are like floating around, sometimes we kind of just lean in certain directions, not really listening to ourselves, but just listening to all of these voices. And it's very interesting because sometimes we just want to do whatever is going to give us the most return. And for some people, maybe they've made it work for themselves, but ultimately, I've noticed, and I just noticed this with somebody else the other day, where she completely has changed her whole platform. You know, at first it was very fashion centered, and then she disappeared for like a year, and then she came back and she's like, you know what? I've been hearing like voices in my head just kind of saying that enough with the fashion. You need to be more focused on dealing with mental health awareness. And so she comes back and she switches everything. And it's interesting because then you'll have people that miss, like, oh, but wait, we loved your fashion. So, how, what are maybe some tips for people to deal with that kind of pivot to where they're giving up something that may have been lucrative or may have been popular and they were able to make it work, but that's not really what they're called to do?
Yeah, I think alignment is everything. So let me first say it's okay to pivot. But we want to make sure that we're pivoting because we want to be in alignment with what's truly on the inside of us versus pivoting because someone had something negative to say or we got results that we didn't think we should have gotten or we wanted more results and didn't get those results. So now let me scramble to figure out something else. I think those are two very different things. So if you're out there and you're just trying to scramble to figure it out, I would say pause and really search what's in my heart to do? Who am I called to reach? And maybe as you're searching yourself, maybe, yeah, it is time to pivot. And that is okay. You don't owe people an explanation for your pivot. You can pivot with full confidence, but you just want it to come from that authentic place of being in alignment. I always think about a car, when it's out of alignment, you got to really jerk that wheel to keep it going forward. And I think so often in the entrepreneurial space, we see things on the side of the road and we kind of start drifting in that direction, but we have to jerk ourselves back to get in alignment. But if we just stay in alignment, then going forward is going to be a lot more easier. That doesn't mean we won't have bumps in the road. There may be some potholes we hit, some sharp turns, but we're still going in the direction that we're supposed to go in. So if you're out there and you feel that tug to pivot, I would say pause and just make sure you know where that desire is coming from a place of truly knowing or from a place of fear.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay, so just two more questions, and then you can, share how people can connect with you. And I've really been enjoying this. I'm pretty sure, there are going to be some people that are so excited, like, oh my gosh, I got to connect with April. So, who would you say is your ideal client? Because I think sometimes, we see people and we're like, wow, I need to talk to this person, but everybody isn't your ideal client. I know that you work with women, but who would you say is ready to connect with someone like yourself?
Definitely a purpose-driven woman. And when I say purpose-driven, you don't want to just be regular. I'm not looking for the person who just wants to blend in. I'm looking for the person who knows they have something on the inside of them that can really change the world. True story, I wake up every single day and I'm like, how can I change the world today? And my ideal client wakes up with that same thought. How can I change the world today? Whatever I have going on, I'm grateful for it, but I know there's more out there for me. I know I can make a greater impact. I want that woman who wants to live her life fulfilling all the parts of her purpose. A lot of times that does look like having a business. So a lot of my clients are entrepreneurs and leaders, but I do have clients that are in ministry. I do have clients that are stay-at-home moms that don't necessarily want a business, but they want to put their footprint in the world. They want to do something where they feel like, man, I left a legacy beyond my four walls, right? We all know we're leaving legacy with our families and our kids, but there's a legacy that we can leave outside the walls of our home. And so my ideal client wakes up every day and she's like, let's change the world. Let's figure out what's possible and let's do it. I'm like, all right, let's figure out what's possible and let's do it. So that's definitely my ideal client.
Awesome, awesome. You heard it, everyone. So don't hit April up saying I'm trying to make $1 million in 30 days and the
No,
get rich quick kind of client. I
no.
love it. So let us all know where we can find you, how we can support you, and if there's anything coming up that we can look forward to.
Awesome. I definitely hang out a lot on Instagram, so you can definitely follow me over there. My handle is at April Nicole Sip, and it's SCIP. I also have an online community where I hang out a lot. And if you go to my website, aprilnicolescipio.com, you'll be able to get connected to my online community there. That community, we are truly purpose-driven women. We desire to live Christ-centered lives, and we want to build authentic friendships around God's word. Emphasis on the word authentic. In my journey of life, I've been a part of different communities and circles, and the authenticity piece sometimes I feel like is missing in community. So it is really important to me to create a space where we can authentically connect. You can be who you are and don't have to pretend, and really connect with people who have your best interest in mind. So definitely connect with me in the community and also on Instagram. As far as things that I have coming up, I'm actually about to open doors for next year's retreat. I just came off an amazing retreat a couple of weeks ago. I already have people like, I want to come next year. I have so many messages like, count me in for next year. So I'm like, okay, we need to just go ahead and open this up. So that'll be coming up for me very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April, for making the time to be a part of the Love Your Work series. It is very clear to me that you love your work, you love what you do, you love changing the world. And so it's really awesome that you want to help other people to love the work that they're doing as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. And again, thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing what's to come for you.
Thanks so much.